I was about 2 years ago. I spoke in the thriving metropolis of Panaca, Nevada. This is the closest I've ever spoken to Panaca anywhere else. So I'm glad some of you know. Anybody been to Panaca? Anybody? Well, see? Look at that. It's a thriving tourist location. So I was there. They asked me to speak for their town's 150th anniversary. I was very honored to be asked to speak, and I drove down. And they were unveiling a new statue in front of their post office. And so I went to the statue unveiling, and that night I was supposed to speak. So I wanted to kind of get the feel for what was happening there. It was fun to be there and fun to see, everyone's so excited for this unveiling of this beautiful statue. And the statue was of this woman, Jane Vale Johnson Lee. By the way, the statue looks much more feminine than the picture, just so you know. So I'm there and I'm listening to this story of Jane Vale Johnson Lee. And here's what happened, okay? So she and her husband, at the time she moves there, she's not Grandma Lee, she's Mom Lee. She has a couple of little kids and her husband, and they get called by Brigham Young to go settle in Panaca, Nevada, in this little valley out in the desert, which was in Utah at the time, but when Utah gained statehood, it actually moved them outside of Utah, which they weren't very happy about. So now they're in Nevada. They settle there, and he needs to go back to St. George to get some supplies to actually build a house. So he builds her and his family a little shack, basically, little kind of a makeshift shack. He takes a couple days and builds it up and says, I'll go to St. George, you plant, and I'll be back in a week or so. Now, to me, that just seems kind of scary. I don't know about you. It's not because she's a woman, just because she's out there with little kids in the middle of nowhere. I think I'd be a little nervous. I don't know, maybe they were used to this kind of thing, but I don't know, it'd be kind of lonely, kind of scary. Anybody turn on the radio when they're home alone? Because you just need that, and just to be out there be kind of scary. Anyway, so she's there, and a couple days into her being alone there, she gets approached by two Native Americans, and they are interested in what she has. One of them is very interested in her stuff. And he walks right into her little homestead there, walks right in. Sees a gun there, and he wants it. So he goes to take the gun, and she steps between him and the gun. She says, no. Vamos. And I'm like, wow, you got guts, right? I'd probably be over there like, okay, just take it, right? Don't hurt me. Take the kids, do whatever. Just don't hurt me, right? So he kind of motions her to get out of the way. And he goes over to take the gun, and she hits him with this piece of firewood. She clocks him upside the head with this piece of firewood. And it makes him stumble. And she said the other Native American kind of stood there like, whoa. Oh my goodness, what? Whoa. And he looks at her, he speaks a little English, and he says, no, I take gun. And he goes over to grab it, and she hits him again with this piece of firewood. I'm like, she's tough. This lady is tough. To where he draws an arrow. He's mad. He draws an arrow. He's going to shoot her. She hits him again across the head. And apparently one of his companion, his Native American companion, said to him something. She said, didn't know what he said, but they kind of looked at each other, and the other one agreed, yeah, whatever you said was right. And they leave. Ow, right? And he looks back a couple of times. Ow. And I liked the story. I thought it was fascinating. But then the speaker said something that I'll just always remember. If you had the Holy Ghost ever tell you need to remember something, remember this. And you're like, that's good. And he's like, I know. Write it down. He said, Grandma Lee is an unconquerable spirit. And I was like, ooh, I like that. I like that term, unconquerable spirit. And so I wrote it down, and I started keeping track of unconquerable spirits that I had met. And whether I'd read about them in history, read about them in the scriptures, or just met them, in life. You might be sitting next to an unconquerable spirit. You don't even know it. Look at that person next to you. Are they an unconquerable spirit? You might not even know it. Look at them. And you look over. Not really. If they're not, it's probably you. All right. So here's what I thought I'd do. Tonight, I want to tell you about 3 unconquerable spirits. Here's what I'm hoping will happen for you. I'm hoping that you will obviously enjoy the stories. That's why I chose them, because I think they're great stories. But 2, I want you to learn something from each. Something for when you face your own difficult circumstances. And I don't know if some of you are here saying, I don't have difficult circumstances. That's good. You just need to wait a little while. Because all of us face difficulty. Any of you who are a little older in the room, do you remember the days when you used to think you might make it through life without tragedy? Do you remember that? You were like, ooh, it always happens to somebody else, right? And then all of a sudden, do you remember the day it happened to your family? When all of a sudden you were the one posting on Facebook all the bad news? Everyone put the little sad face. by your bad news. And it was always somebody else, right? It was always somebody else, and then it was you. So those of you who are not facing difficult circumstances, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And we will all face our own difficult circumstances. So my hope is in these stories, you're going to enjoy them and also learn a little something to face your own circumstances. In fact, I'm going to give you time to do that. All right.